Welcome to Life Advice for Your 60s, and to this quiet corner of our channel we call Late Night Stories, where we share warm, meaningful stories crafted especially for those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. If you're looking for gentle words to wind down your day, or a story that stirs something soft inside your heart, you're in the right place. So make yourself a warm cup of tea or coffee, settle into your favorite chair, and join us tonight for a heartfelt story called The Old Wooden Chair. It's a tale of quiet love, time-worn habits, and a bond that outlasted even goodbye. Let's begin. In a quiet corner of rural Virginia, nestled between rolling hills and maple trees, lived an old man named George Miller. He was 82, thin, slightly hunched, and moved with the slow grace of someone who had loved and lost deeply. Every morning, like clockwork, George would rise before the sun, brew his coffee strong black, no sugar, and carry it to the porch. There, waiting for him, was an old wooden rocking chair. Its arms were worn smooth by years of hands resting on them. Its back creaked with every shift of weight. But George loved that chair because it wasn't just furniture. It was a memory carved in wood. For over 50 years, that chair had two occupants, George and his wife, Margaret. Every afternoon, they'd sit side by side. Margaret would knit or hum an old tune, and George would rock slowly, sipping his coffee, sometimes reading, often just being. She always joked, "You in that chair, one of you is going to outlive the other." He'd grin and say, "Well, I'm hoping it's you in the chair." That chair held their conversations, their silence, their laughter, even the comfortable kind of quiet that only two people truly in love can share. George met Margaret in 1962 at a dusty little bookshop tucked behind a Baptist church. She was browsing gardening books. He was pretending to read Hemingway, but really watching her smile. "Is that a good one?" she asked, nodding at the book. In his hands, he looked down. "I honestly have no idea." She laughed, and that was it. They went for coffee, then walks, then Sunday services. She taught him how to plant tomatoes. He taught her how to make a half-decent pot of chili. And the first thing he built for their home, the very first, was that rocking chair. George didn't propose with a diamond. He proposed with his heart and a cup of coffee. It was fall. Leaves were dancing across the yard. Margaret was sitting on the new chair, sipping from a chipped blue mug. He knelt down beside her, not quite on one knee, more like a careful crouch, and said, "This chair is missing something. It needs you in it, every day, forever." She didn't cry. She just nodded, smiled, and said, "Only if you promise to keep making the coffee." Life rolled on, season after season. The chair heard everything: bedtime stories, thunderstorms, Sunday phone calls with their daughter Emily, debates over what to plant that spring, and who left the back door open. They fought sometimes, but even their arguments ended the same way. One of them would sit in the chair, the other would eventually join. There were no grand gestures, just the daily choice to sit beside each other. "Love," Margaret once said, "isn't the big days. It's in the rocking." Margaret had a habit. She wrote letters, not to anyone, just for when she wasn't around. "If you're ever lonely," one began, "just imagine I'm in that chair, humming badly, as always." She kept them in a wooden box under the bed. George found the first one after her cataract surgery. I figured I'd write while I can still see straight, she teased. George never read them all at once, just one now and then, like sips of her voice. One winter, George had a minor stroke. He couldn't move his left arm for weeks, couldn't speak properly for days. Margaret moved his rocking chair inside, next to the fireplace. She sat with him every hour, helping him practice words. Coffee. She'd say, "Coffee," he'd reply. They laughed, cried, and drank lukewarm coffee together. And when he could finally say, "I love you," again, he said it to the chair first. One morning, Margaret didn't wake up. The doctors called it peaceful. George called it wrong. He made 2 cups of coffee anyway, set hers in its place, and he just sat there, for hours. The chair didn't creak that day. Not even once. Months passed. George kept the ritual. Coffee for 2. Conversations with 1. Then one night, a heavy storm rolled in. Lightning cracked the sky. Wind howled through the trees. A maple branch crashed onto the porch. And in the morning, George found his rocking chair shattered, one arm broken clean. Back split. He didn't cry, he didn't speak. He just gathered the pieces and held them. The neighbors offered to help, offered to buy a new chair. George declined. "You can't replace a memory," he said. In the small shed out back, with shaking hands and failing eyes, George worked. Hammer, sandpaper, wood glue. Every crack reminded him of a smile. Every scratch whispered her name. And after days of quiet work, the chair stood again, not perfect, but whole. One afternoon, their daughter Emily arrived. She hadn't seen him in months. Life had been life. She found him on the porch, sitting in the repaired chair, 2 mugs of coffee between them. "Dad," she said gently, "why don't you move in with us? It's lonely here." George looked out across the fields. "I'm not alone," he said. "Your mother's here." She never missed coffee. Emily didn't press further. She just sat beside him and took the other mug. That night, George opened one final letter. The one marked, "Read when it's been a while." It said, "If you're reading this, then I hope you're still sitting in our chair. Don't worry about being strong. Just remember how much I loved our mornings. And if the chair ever creaks too loud, it's probably just me rocking." George smiled, closed the letter, took a sip of his coffee, and rocked, gently, into the golden light of dusk. Not all love stories are written in big gestures or loud declarations. Some live in daily rituals, the morning coffee, the way 2 chairs always face the same direction, or the soft creak of wood that still remembers the weight of someone who's gone. George and Margaret's story reminds us that love doesn't fade. It settles. It roots. It stays. Even when words are no longer spoken, even when the house falls quiet, the heart remembers. And sometimes that's enough. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with us and listening to The Old Wooden Chair, a part of our Late Night Stories series here on Life Advice for Your 60s. Here, we don't just tell stories, we reflect, we remember, and we hold space for the hearts that have weathered time with grace. If today's story touched you in some way, don't forget to follow or subscribe to the channel. We'll be here, night after night, with gentle words and warm memories to keep you company. Until then, may your night be peaceful, your dreams kind, and your mornings soft with light. This is life advice for your 60s, and there will always be a seat here for you, like an old wooden chair, quietly waiting for someone to return.